And I too would like to welcome you, Minister Madigan, to our meeting here today. I've just a number of questions to put to you. There's an incident of a 10-year-old boy in an ASD unit in Cavan, and he has an OT report which recommends a laptop with very specific software, English Type Junior and Clicker 8. But the senior is refusing to recommend this to the department. Now, I think this is directly in contravention of Article 24, specifically Part 2E, where it supports that this child needs are being denied. So maybe you would clarify what a CNO's role should be. I mean, should it be to ensure the educational needs of children are met, or should it be to kind of somehow safeguard the department from spending money? Because this is not the only incident, but it is an example, and maybe I'd be able to take this up personally with you as well after the meeting, if that's possible, to further the process. Also, in relation to, I suppose, children in my constituency of Cavan Monaghan, but indeed elsewhere as well, they're forced to travel out of their area, excuse me, to attend a school which will meet their needs, whether that's a special school or an ASD unit. And I know Deputy Higgins has brought up there about the 37A process, and I just want to bring up some questions there. I mean, under this process, schools are asked to indicate if they have space for a unit. And I know that many schools have space, but they don't want to continent a unit in their school and are not indicating that they have space. So I'm wondering if this could be somehow strengthened to ensure that all schools consider seriously having a unit included in the school. I know my colleague Deputy Chris Andrews has raised the issue of the lack of special class places and ASD unit spaces in the Dublin South area as well, and that is very stark. But it's just, it exists everywhere, and the department are spending hundreds of thousands of euros every day transporting students from their locality to a school, maybe half an hour to an hour's journey away. And I think the money should be better spent looking at trying to have additional units, because you would know, and we all know, that we need additional units in our schools, but many are refusing to countenance this. And I'm just wondering, are you working directly with, say, the Catholic patron body, because many of our schools are still under the Catholic ethos, and a lot of our schools that have units are community schools and are JESH schools, and many of the Catholic schools are not. So I'm just wondering, is there any increase in the number of schools which will include a unit? I know you, and I welcome the fact that all new builds will require an ASD unit, but will that be sufficient to meet the needs as well? Because again, I would love to see all siblings attending in the same school where that is possible, but if there isn't a unit or a special class to meet the needs of those with additional needs, that may not be possible. So the new schools might need it. I mean, I'm in contact with Enable Ireland, and they're saying they're just inundated with the number of new assessments are being requested. So, I mean, planning for the future is just indicates that there's going to be a huge need for more units at both primary school, secondary school, and indeed for services post-secondary school as well. So it needs to be a lot of planning going into this. And just, you mentioned the forecasting model, and I'm just wondering what's the latest NCSE prevalence rate. I know it was 1.55% in 2016, and I'm just wondering, is there an up-to-date figure for that? Because I know it's 3.3% in the north, so that's quite a difference. So I'm just wondering what that is as well. And just the last question is, Down syndrome children, will they be included in the summer provision? Because there was some confusion last year around that as well. If you could answer that, please.
Thank you very much, Pauline. Minister?
Thank you, Deputy Tully. Again, you have a lot of questions. I'll do my best to answer them, and you can let me know if I don't. Down syndrome children were included last year, and they will be included this year as well. Just in relation to Deputy Andrews, I actually met with Autism Equality Dublin Bay recently on the lack of places in Dublin 2 and Dublin 4 in relation to special classes there. And it's important to say as well that there is a process outside of the Section 37A, which the National Council for Special Education liaises and engages with schools on special classes all of the time outside the Section 37A process. Section 37A process is a very valid mechanism, and it certainly has its benefits, but it should only really ever be used as a last resort. However, I will use it if I have to use it. There will be 1,200 places next year. You mentioned in particular ASD units. And I mentioned earlier that there's been a growth since 2011 of 235%, which is considerable. And there will be 189 ASD special classes this year, and that's out of 197 new special classes in total. As I said, there'll be 1,200 special class places. But 189 of those are for ASD pupils, 12 are early intervention, 113 are primary, and 64 are post-primary. Just as well, the culture and the ethos of a school is really important. It's been hard to determine, I think, historically, to know whether or not it is simply a lack of places, or whether it's the school not wanting, as you say, to take a class. And that culture and that ethos is changing, and it's changing slowly. And it's something that we're very aware of. And obviously we try and encourage patron bodies that you mentioned and other organisations and schools to voluntarily open a special class where it's needed, rather than have to trigger the mechanism of Section 37A. We only want to really do that where we absolutely have to. In relation to, you mentioned about technology, I think it's for a 10-year-old boy. There is an assistive technology scheme, and there's 100 million that's gone into that, and there's ICT grants available for schools as well. The CINO obviously can liaise through the NCSE, who then in turn engage with the department if there are any particular issues. But I can certainly talk to you about that particular case offline another time if you wish, Deputy Tully. Thank you.